All right, you guys, this is the third and final video for the Properties Engineering Lab. So far, we've reviewed everything, done the guiding questions, and made our graph. If you haven't done that yet, I would suggest going and watching the first two videos so that you're at the same place as us. Okay, I've got my graph, okay, and it's about boats, and it basically tells me how many pennies each type of boat could hold. Okay, one of paper, one of the wax paper, one of the foil, and one of the paper towels. One thing I just want to remind you of before we move on, this graph is a fake graph. I did not use the real data to make this graph. So make sure that you're looking at your graph and not copying what I'm saying because I'm using a fake graph. Okay, so that means my answers might not actually be very good or make sense for the assignment. All right. The first you're going to do is you're going to make a claim. What material was the best for building that structure? Meaning, like if you're doing boats for building a boat, or if you're doing bridges for building a bridge, okay? And it says use a complete sentence. For this, you might be thinking, which one did I think did the best? Well, there's a place you can go look. You can go look at your graph, okay? And on my graph, which remember is a fake graph, the one that clearly did the best was the aluminum foil. So here I would type, and I'm going to do a full sentence. Aluminum foil was the best material for making a boat. Okay, that is my claim. That's what I think the best material was. That can just be that one sentence. Okay, so obviously you're going to answer that for your graph depending on your results and which thing you picked. Okay, actually, I'm going to leave that on there for now. Okay, use evidence to support your data. Evidence means like it could be two things, a direct observation. So you could say, like, in the experiment, I saw this, or it can be a direct piece of data. Okay. For us, it's going to be a direct thing from our graph. So, evidence, use data to support your answer. That means I'm going to use my graph to support my answer. Okay, why did I say that foil was the best? Well, because it had the highest number and it had about 45. So I'm going to say aluminium, that's what they say in England. I got marked down on a college paper for spelling it the British way, and I will never forget. All right, aluminum foil was the best because it held the most pennies. On my graph, it is the tallest. It could hold 45 pennies on average. Okay, so I directly used evidence from my graph. Okay, if you just say, well, because it held the most, that is not evidence. You're just basically repeating what was up here. What makes this evidence is that I'm referencing my graph and I'm giving the number from my graph. Okay, so I'm using the evidence from the graph. All right. One more reminder that this is all fake. Okay, I just put that there. I just made up to 45 for fun. So remember that you're going to use the real data from your real graph. Reasoning, explain why you think that material worked best. Okay, here's where I would explain, well, I think that aluminum foil made the best boat because it's waterproof and it's very maybe strong. And so it's not going to fall apart and no water is going to be able to make it fall apart. And maybe, it's kind of rigid and that makes it hold its shape. And those are the properties that I think makes aluminum foil a good boat. Okay. Basically, you're explaining why was that material best? And you've got to talk about properties. Remember, those are the characteristics, like, okay, and you have to talk about the function. The function is being a boat. For in my example, yours might be a plane or a bridge. Okay, you need to reference at least two properties. So I can't say just because aluminum foil is waterproof. So I have to say, well, I think that aluminum foil is a good boat because it's waterproof. That's my first property. And it's shiny. And I think shiny things make really good boats. Okay. Now, that's kind of a silly reason, but in this, try to make your reason a good reason that would make sense. Okay. All right. And then finally is application. In real life, what is a material that engineers could use to build that thing? Okay. For this, you're going to have to go do a little research. Okay. So you're going to go to Google. Oh, sorry, this is something else. And I'm going to say, what are boats made of? And there's probably a lot of different things that boats are made of. But I'm going to find a website. Oh, here's Wikipedia. It talks about maybe what boats are made of. Oh, here's the one about boat building. That probably has some good ideas. Or there's some different, this website's about it's marine stuff. That's about boats. But you're going to go look. What are boats made of, or what are bridges made of? Or what are airplanes made of? Okay. Now, it might give you a long list. You can just choose one thing to talk about. So I found out that boats are made of cheese. Okay. Cheese boats. So here I'm going to say, well, boats are in real life. I found out that boats are made of cheese. And I think, and so you're going to tell me what it's made of. Your one thing that you picked. Uh-oh, better fix that. And then you're going to create a hypothesis. That means a possible explanation, okay, of why you think they use that. Well, I think they use cheese so that if they get stranded in the ocean, they could eat the boat and they won't starve, okay? Once again, that's kind of a silly explanation. You're going to try and give me an actually good explanation. So find out what's something they actually make this out of in real life, and what is a property that you think makes it a good use for that. Okay, right on. So the big thing here is you're going to reference your graph. That's your evidence you're using. You're going to explain why that material was so good. And then you're going to look up what's an example in real life. If you're in my third and fourth period, by the way, there's just an extra step, which is that you're going to focus on the writing, putting that all together into one cohesive writing. For the rest of my classes, you don't need to worry about that. So that is the Properties Engineering Lab. If you have any questions at all that didn't get answered in the videos, please make sure that you send Mr. Ingberson. I can't say my own name anymore, apparently. Mr. Ingberson or Mrs. Jacobson a message to ask for help. Okay. That should be done on Friday or at the very least during the weekend. Okay. Awesome. Next week, we are going to keep talking about atoms and the periodic table and a lot of really cool stuff. So we'll see you guys next week.